I came home to find my privacy hedges butchered and a bright orange notice pinned to my front door. A $750 fine, listed in bold letters, stared me down like an accusation. But what the Briarwood Estates Homeowners Association didn't know was that they had just messed with their brand new financial auditor. And they had no idea I now had access to 5 years of their creative bookkeeping. The question was, how would they react when they realized the truth? The blood rushed to my face as I stood there in disbelief, staring at the stumps that remained of my carefully cultivated hedges. 6 years. 6 years of planting, pruning, watering, and trimming every weekend. Gone. Reduced to mangled twigs in the space of a single afternoon while I was at work. My hands trembled as I peeled the notice off the door. Vegetation violation corrected. $750 landscaping fee applied to your account. Briarwood Estates, HOA. I read it again and again. It didn't make sense. I stormed into my garage, grabbed my measuring tape, and rushed back out to confirm what I already knew. They were cut to exactly 3 feet tall. 3. The HOA's rules specifically allowed hedges up to 7 feet tall. Meaning? They had stood proud at 6.5. I measured them every single Saturday morning without fail. This wasn't just a mistake, it was a targeted attack. And through the newly created gaps in my destroyed privacy barrier, I caught sight of Clara Jennings across the street. She stood by her roses, watering can in hand, wearing a smirk she wasn't trying hard to hide. Clara had complained at least a dozen times in HOA meetings about my hedges blocking the scenic view from her front porch. I glared, but she pretended not to notice. That woman had practically made it her personal mission to meddle in everyone else's business. I stomped back inside, pacing across the living room with my pulse pounding in my ears. I needed answers. Now, grabbing my phone, I called the HOA office. After 2 rings, a curt voice answered. Briarwood Estates, HOA, this is Marcia. Marcia, this is Ethan Cole from 117 Cypress Lane. I just got home to find my hedges butchered and a $750 fine taped to my door. Who authorized this? And why? A pause. The faint sound of typing filled the silence. Yes, Mr. Cole. According to our records, several visibility complaints were submitted regarding your hedges. The board voted last Thursday to remedy the situation. I blinked. Visibility complaints? What complaints? I never received a single notice, and my hedges were well within the height regulations. I measure them every week. Marcia's voice cooled several degrees. The board determined your hedges exceeded height limits and posed an obstruction to sight lines. The decision was unanimous. That's impossible, I snapped. I want to speak to Lillian Hart right now. MS. Hart is unavailable. You are welcome to submit a formal appeal, but the landscaping fee stands. The work has already been completed. I hung up before I said something I regret, pacing furiously. This wasn't just unfair, it was illegal. They couldn't trespass on my property and destroy my hedges without due process. And they sure as hell couldn't find me without notice. Grabbing my camera, I stepped back outside to document every inch of the damage. As I clicked photo after photo, a sleek black Lexus SUV slowed in front of my house. The window rolled down, and there she was. Lillian Hart, the HOA board president, her platinum blonde bob untouched by the breeze. Landscaping looks much better now, Ethan, she called. The entire neighborhood appreciates your compliance. I lowered my camera. I was already in compliance, Lillian. This was trespassing. Destruction of property. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. The board has authority to enforce compliance after proper notification. Check your email next time. The window slid shut with mechanical precision. I stood frozen as her SUV drifted away, leaving me seething in my yard. Then my phone buzzed. A new email. I opened it, and there it was. My job confirmation. Next Monday, I would officially start as the financial auditor for Briarwood Estates HOA. They'd hired me last week, not realizing they had just handed me the keys to their financial kingdom. They had no idea I now had full access to their records, their budgets, their decision logs. And Lillian? She had no clue who she had just made an enemy of. That night, I barely slept. Through my now-exposed bedroom window, I watched cars pull up to Lillian's house. An emergency board meeting, it seemed. Unscheduled. Hush-hush. The only board member I trusted, Javier Morales, arrived late, glancing around nervously before slipping inside. I made a mental note to talk to him in the morning. By sunrise, Clara Jennings was back at it, mowing her lawn at 6 a.m., blissfully ignoring the noise ordinances that Lillian only enforced when it suited her. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table, highlighting every bylaw in the HOA handbook that pertained to property rights, access regulations, and voting procedures. By noon, I was sure of it. This wasn't just about me. Something bigger was happening, and they had no idea I was about to peel back the curtain. The next morning, I was waiting outside the county records office as soon as they opened. Doing some home improvements? The clerk asked as she handed me a thick binder. Something like that, I said, flipping to the Briarwood Estate section. The easement maps confirmed what I already suspected. The HOA had zero right to step foot on my property beyond standard utility access, nowhere near my hedges. What they did was a violation, pure and simple. Then I noticed something else. The landscaping company listed on my violation notice? Greenview Solutions. I dug a little deeper. Their business registration was filed only 4 months ago. The owner? A guy named Marcus Hart, Lillian's brother-in-law. Over the next few days, I collected evidence. Clara Jennings was watering her garden on a no-watering day, violating drought restrictions. Board member Patrick Langston had an illegal extension on his deck. Meanwhile, I photographed Lillian's mailbox, 2 feet taller than the regulation limit. As I was snapping photos, the black Lexus rolled up beside me. Taking up photography? Lillian asked sweetly. Documenting the neighborhood, I said evenly. Plenty of rule-breaking to go around. People who make trouble often find themselves under a microscope, she replied, her eyes cold. We have special forms for chronic complainers. As she drove away, my phone buzzed again. My login credentials had arrived. Full access to HOA records starting Monday. And courtesy of Javier Morales, who had insisted on hiring me over Lillian's objections. I logged in immediately. Even with limited weekend access, I found something explosive. Payments to Greenview Solutions had skyrocketed in the past year. Over $200,000, all labeled as emergency landscaping. My hedge removal, billed at $1,500. They'd charge me half and bill the HOA for the other half. That Sunday, I met Javier at Willow Park. Ethan, he said, handed me a coffee. We need to talk. About my hedges? That was just the start. They're pushing through a $1.2 million beautification project. All of it going to Greenview Solutions. They're gutting our reserve fund, and they plan to take out a loan to cover the rest. I nearly dropped my coffee. They're bankrupting the HOA to line their pockets. And the vote is this Thursday. They don't know I'm the auditor, I said. Yet, be careful, Javier warned. The last guy who questioned Lillian lost his job after she expressed concerns to his employer. I wasn't afraid, but I was ready. Monday came. I straightened my tie, grabbed my briefcase, and walked into the HOA office as the new financial auditor. Marcia's jaw nearly hit her desk. Mr. Cole, I didn't realize you were starting today. Surprise, I said smoothly. I'll need full access to all financial records for the past 5 years. Her hands trembled as she logged me in. I spent hours digging through invoices. Greenview Solutions have been bleeding the HOA dry for 3 years. Their rates were absurd. $1, $200 to trim 1 hedge, while local companies charged $300. I made a call. Sam, can you confirm something for me? Marcus Hart. Is he related to Lillian Hart? Married to her sister, Sam confirmed. They co-own a vacation house in Aspen. I printed everything. My next stop was Javier's house. I have what we need, I told him. He shook his head in disbelief. She'll come after you hard. Then let her try. The board meeting was packed. Lillian tried to shut me down before I could speak. But I held up the bylaws, Article 7, Section 3, guaranteeing my right to present financial findings. I clicked through my slides. The photos of my hedges. The emails between Lillian and Marcia. The inflated invoices. The payments to Greenview Solutions. The connections between board members and the violations they ignored. Gasps. Angry murmurs. Mrs. Patterson, who'd been fined $500 for a faded mailbox, stood up and demanded answers. Soon the entire room was shouting over one another. Javier called for a vote. An independent forensic audit. The hand shot up, almost unanimous. Lillian slammed her gavel down. "You'll regret this," she snarled at me. "No," I said softly. "You will." The following morning, I woke to the sound of heavy machinery. A bulldozer. Lillian, in a bright yellow vest, directing a crew to dig up my front yard for a suspected water leak. I stopped them cold. Javier confirmed the emergency work order was fake. Neighbors gathered. Phones filmed. And when 2 news vans pulled up, Lillian's mask slipped. She bolted for her SUV, shouting that this isn't over. But it was. For her. Within weeks, investigators found over $400,000 in fraud. Kickbacks, fake invoices, hidden expenses. Lillian was arrested. So were 2 other board members. The forensic audit uncovered even more than I had imagined. The HOA board was dissolved and reformed under Javier's leadership. Refunds were issued. New hedges were planted, mine among them. And I was asked to advise the county on HOA reform legislation. One evening, as the sun set over Briarwood Estates, a woman pulled up beside my house. "Is this a good neighborhood to live in?" she asked. I smiled. "It is now,"